Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrew. Today I'm going to be going over my worst books of the year because I wanted to start with the negative and work our way up to the positive. Overall, for me this year personally, my reading year has been very mediocre. Just in general, I feel very about it, and some of my favorite books of the year to me kind of feel like they in any other year could have been honorable mentions, but and I think last year I had such a good reading year last year that it was very motivating to just keep going. I read 100 books this year. I think I've read over 80 this year. I don't know exactly, but I don't think I'm going to read any more this year, so I figured I would go ahead and I went through everything I've read this year and I've sorted everything by, like I said, worst, then I'm going to be doing most disappointing, then I'm going to be doing most surprising, and then I'm going to be doing the best of the year for me. And I think last year I didn't even have any worst books of the year. I think I just did disappointing, and I think I did disappointing, surprising, and best, but I will leave anything I did last year down in the description for you to check out. But today we're getting into the worst books of the year. I'm going to start with the ones I don't own. I'm going to start with the Starless C. For me, Erin Morgenstern, it just doesn't, we don't work. I need more plot than she gives. I'm sure I could do some deep diving in Easter eggs to try to figure out what every little thing meant, but that's just not the type of reader that I am. I like engaging with the book critically, but not in this, I need to be given more than what Erin Morgenstern gives. It's just not for me. I do agree that she has like some very beautiful writing, but that's kind of all it is, and it's so terrible for me, and it made it to my worst versus disappointing, because for me it's just so awful that she's almost what I want and then it isn't. It's like you're about to bite into this cupcake that just looks like the most delicious thing you've ever seen, and you take a bite into it and it just sucks. It's very pretty on the outside, it's very beautiful, it looks so delicious, and when you eat it, it's just awful. That's what Erin Morgenstern's books are like to me. The next one we're going to talk about is Normal People by Sally Rooney, and I really don't know if I will ever enjoy a literary fiction book, because to read a book where you just suffer the entire book I don't get it. I don't understand why you'd want to do that. I guess I do. I guess I get it can be cathartic if you've had similar experiences and you want to read about something like that, but this isn't even really on my worst list because it was people suffering. Yes, they're suffering the whole time, but because they don't speak to each other, or because they do speak but they misinterpret each other, which is realistic and does happen in real life, but it doesn't mean I want to read it. It doesn't mean I want to read about it. I don't know if I would ever watch the show. I just don't care. I know there's like literally millions of fantasy books I want to read instead. And I just think Litfic and I are breaking up. I think I've got to stop. Like, I've got to realize when it's not for me, and I've got to stop. I just don't like the way this was written. I didn't really like anything about any characters. I kind of get like they're in college, and it's just, I don't know. There's something about the way Sally Rooney writes. You either get it or you don't, and I don't. I don't get it. I'd love to get it, but I just don't. I don't understand what this does for people. Like, I really don't. Even trying to put myself in the mindset of a person who is like I've had experiences in my life where people misinterpret what I say, and I don't think that reading this book gave me any insight into how to prevent it, or it gave me any insight into like why what I could have said could have been misinterpreted, or because I think for me, I don't know. I think that I can tell if a person is not vibing with me, and I just kind of cut them off, or I just kind of, I don't know, I don't cut them off. I just think I can communicate better than these people can, and I don't know, it was just so terrible. It was so terrible. It was easily one of the worst books I read this year, but again, if you love it, love that for you. Okay, this next one is actually the last book that I read. So I've been having a bad reading year all year long, honey. Literally all year. It has just been non-stop mediocrity. But these are worse than disappointing. These are I just can't stand the way that the author writes. Something about the writing with most of these, except for Erin Morgenstern. I like her writing. I resent her for having good writing and not giving us more. giving me more. But the other ones on this list, I have 5. So the other 4 on this list are mostly because I just hate the way they write. And like, I definitely feel that way for Sally Rooney. I will not read another Sally Rooney book probably ever. And I definitely feel that way about this next author. And that is The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward? Katrina Ward? I don't know. Here it is for you to see. But let me tell you, it was just something about the way it's written and how it's confusing, and it just, I guessed how this book would end before I even started reading it, and I just don't like that type of ending. I get why the book is important to other people and why they could see value in what's being represented here, but for me, as a thriller, honestly, by the end I was like, wait, why did that even become how it was? Like, I don't get it. Like, it literally went over my head. But then I was watching live shows about it, and people were like, wait, the ending, I don't get it. Like, who was what, and why was, like, what caused that to happen to the person that no. I don't like being confused when I'm reading. I don't like that feeling. I like feeling like the author is, I guess, holding my hand in a sense, but not necessarily, I don't know. I can handle some confusion, but when it's like just the whole entire book, I can't handle that at all. If it had been just like a few things here and there, like a few little like things that are like, that was weird, like, I can get down with that. But this entire book, it just felt like I already knew before I even started the book what was going to happen and how it was going to end, just by the way people describe it. And like, you could probably guess. I feel like you could guess how it ends, and I just think that's I really don't, I'm trying not to spoil this book, but I just find it to be, I get why you would want to do it in a book, because it can feel, it's one of the few mediums that it could be pulled off in a certain way, and I get it, but to me, I don't know. I might do a whole separate spoiler-filled review for it because I feel like I want to discuss it, possibly. But yeah, let's just move on to the next one, because the next one is Murderbot by Martha Wells, which funny story. Apparently, my brain thought, I'm having a mediocre reading year. Maybe it's just because I've been doing so many audiobooks, and that's what it is. So I said, you know what? Let me just go to my library and check out some of these books to read physically. And then, I haven't reread this physically, but I realized that's stupid, because the audiobook is the same story as the physical book. And we'll get into this a little bit more with my number 1 worst book of the year, because I just don't think it's, listen, Murderbot, you have to love Murderbot. And while I 100%, 1000% sympathize with social anxiety and being awkward, it doesn't make it funny to read in a book. I just don't, it's just something about the humor didn't work for me, and I feel like it's very much about the humor. I don't know, maybe it was the audiobook for me, maybe I would reread this, but after having such a mediocre reading year and feeling very about this, I don't think I'm going to, anytime soon. I'm probably going to just go return this and read something else, because I did really want to love this. I really did. But I don't know, I guess maybe for me, like, I need a little bit more in terms of speculative fiction. Like, I don't love world building. I'm not here for the world building, but I love deep character analysis and lots of messy, crazy plot. And I just feel like this didn't quite give enough of what I look for in sci-fi fantasy, which this, I think, as the series goes on, gets more and more into the character. But for me, Murderbot was just not interesting enough, which maybe if it had been longer, it would have changed my opinion. Maybe I just don't like novellas. I don't know, possibly. But I would consider rereading this. But the next one, let's just get into the next one, because the next one is Red Rising. This is in my opinion, it's actually, I didn't really rank these, so I don't know if I would say this is my worst book of the year, but I read this with the audiobook sometime this year, and I was like, you know what, maybe it's just a narrator. But after rereading only 22 pages of this book, I just think that Pierce Brown has a writing style that drives me up the wall. I just feel like I'm listening to some fraternity brother tell me about his glory days in the past, and about all the guys that were out there being like, oh, like, look at her, she has nice like, just so much, I guess, misogyny, sexism. Just, at least to me, that's, I don't know. Like, it could be funny for some people. Some women I know like this book, so that's fine. But for me, it's just something about it and the way it's written. It just really, really, I hate it. I hate it. And I have realized that again. I listened to it thinking that maybe it was just me listening to it, but no, no, no. And as I'm rereading this physically, like, I still picture the same narrator. So I feel like possibly the narrator for this book, like, they're aligned. Like, the personality of the narrator is like coming through to me as I read this with my eyes. And I didn't like the audiobook, obviously. And it just felt very, like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get it. I mean, I know everyone says, like, you need to continue the series and, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, and if I could handle his writing style, if I enjoyed anything about his writing style or anything about the world, I just don't care. I was kind of spoiled for, like, what happens, like, after part 1 of this book. So, like, I didn't really get the shock value of that when I first read it. And I just don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. I don't want to read all the books that come after it. I just don't feel like the characters are my kind of characters. Like, I just don't think they are. I think that other people that appreciate the book, love that for them, but this was just not, this was, for me personally, not the vibe. It just felt so heterosexual. I don't know how else. It just felt so men hating on women, men, SA was like every single time, every single person that was introduced that was supposed to be evil, it was like, oh, backstory is SA. Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand. I just don't understand. Like, and even in the first 20 pages of reading it, I'm just like, no, but like, I just don't like his writing style. But I know everyone says, like, if you just continue, like, and from what people say, because I know many people who didn't even like this book went on to enjoy the following books, like, maybe that would happen for me. Maybe, I don't know. But I am not going to find out next year, the year after that, or the year after that, or the year after that. I just don't care. I don't care enough. These were terrible books. Now I feel, I guess if I had to actually rank them. No, I don't want to do all that. I don't want to rank them. They're all so awful for different reasons for me personally. But I guess out of all of these, authors that I would try again are probably Erin Morgenstern. But I absolutely do not want to read anything else by Katrina Ward. I just don't. I don't think her writing style works for me. Something about it every time I had to keep playing it, because I really wanted to get to the end to see if it's what I thought. But every time that I had to listen to it, I was just like, oh my god, I'm still listening to this. I'm still listening to this, and I was going to DNF it, but I had to know how it ended. I had to know. I had to know for my own sanity. And I gave it 2 stars. So please let me know your worst books of the year. And if you'd like to know any more of my thoughts on any of these specifically, with spoilers or anything like that, you can feel free to message me on Instagram. I will also leave my Goodreads in my description, as well as my Twitter, which I don't really use ever since Mr. Musk took it over. But even before that, I wasn't using it, but that's a whole nother topic. So definitely let me know your worst books of the year. If you have a channel, I would love to see it. I would love for you to tell me to go check out your channel. Yeah. Otherwise, have a great day. Bye.